I've had conversations in real life and a little bit on this channel about how Nintendo neglects some of its properties. Whenever a brand new Nintendo console is about to come out, the same conversation is had. They gotta do a game about this franchise. They gotta do a game about that franchise. Here are the top games I want to see on the brand new blankety blank. And in these conversations, I always bring up one of Nintendo's most underutilized IPs, which there are actually many. That is the Star Fox series. And I do that just because I've heard that's what people want, a brand new Star Fox series, so I always end up mentioning it. But this last time I had this conversation, I thought, why am I saying this? Do I even care about Star Fox? I'm not even a Star Fox fan. I just realized something. How do I know I'm not a Star Fox fan? I've only played the one game and I didn't even finish it. I barely got past the 3rd level. Maybe I do love Star Fox, I just don't know because I haven't played them. But I would sure like to find out. So let's take a look at the beginning of the Star Fox series.
Do a barrel roll!
I first saw Star Fox, like many others did, on the Super Smash Bros. For the N64. Even though he had a game on that very system 2 years before Smash Bros. Even came out. And for the longest time, I thought Star Fox 64 was his very first game. It wasn't until later in my life that I saw that he made his start back in 1993 for the SNES. Star Fox is a spaceship rail shooter created by Shigeru Miyamoto himself. In it, you play as Fox McCloud, top 5 dopest pilot names of all time. And he's the chief of the Star Fox combat team. He better be, it's named after him basically. And this is a crew of anthropomorphic animals featuring Falcon Lombardi, Peppy Hare, and Sleepy Toad. They are summoned to stop Andros, an evil monkey scientist who was banished from Corneria, the mother planet of the Lylat system. He was banished for doing some crazy experiments that was putting Corneria in danger. So now he's going around the rest of the planets, making a giant mess and just being a bad monkey. That's why we must take flight in our Arwing to stop him. And we do that by flying around, taking down ships, dodging incoming attacks, and protecting your squad. The first mission starts in Corneria. Once you pass that stage, there are 3 possible routes to Venom, each representing the game's difficulty. There's a ton of replayability, not even counting the secrets that you can find within this game as well, because each stage is littered with enemies to shoot, items to pick up, and very fun secrets to uncover. The controls are very responsive, even today. You shoot your blasters, you can drop Nova Bombs, you can boost to speed up, and even do some cool maneuvers. You can also change the camera angle, which for me, it helps out depending on the level. Like if I have to fly through stuff, I like to go into first person sometimes, but trying to shoot at something and help out your teammate can actually become a little bit more tricky because you can't see. There are items that can help you in the fight, improving the blasters, picking up more missiles, get an extra life, and even repair the Arwing. There are also these rings that are used as checkpoints and to replenish your shield. And even though it looks like it, you're not alone throughout the level. Your team is there, each with their own life bar, and sometimes they come into the picture and need your help. All this really does is just give you a really cool sense of team within the game. Their life bar carries over from level to level, and if they go down, they just stay out for a level and come back. Slippy, of course, was the first one to die on me, but I mean, it's Slippy, so who cares? There are a ton of different enemies, each with their own tendencies and ways of attack, and every level ends with a fun, epic, and most of the time, kind of hard boss fight. I think what makes the game harder is your hitbox. A lot of the times I found myself saying, oh come on, that didn't hit me. Sometimes it looked like it wasn't even close. And it doesn't really help that I actually couldn't tell what the hell was going on screen sometimes. Visually, I couldn't tell if that thing was a power-up or a bad guy. Of course, by today's standards, this game looks like complete ass. But it was actually a gigantic deal back in the day. Star Fox was the first SNES game to use the Super FX chip, which made it possible to use 3D models with polygons. Which is all cool for 1993, but for me in the mid-2020s, it took me a minute to get used to it. There are moments that actually look pretty cool and awesome, and there are others that I just literally can't tell what the hell's going on. It's like, are those a bunch of Navis from Zelda?
Listen!
Then there's just simply too much going on screen and it makes everything look choppy and it slows down the frame rate. I played it on the Switch Online, so I don't know if these technical issues are featured in the cartridges or not, just take that in mind. So visually, it can be a little bit of a problem when you're not actually sure what you're supposed to be shooting at. But even that, with these visuals, I didn't mind them too much. It's not like it's unplayable by any means. I just thought like it's just adding a little bit more to the difficulty. Because you have to put some respect on its name, because of what it did back in the day, and because what it meant for 3D gaming. But what I did like the most from the game was the world that they built. It just feels lived in because of the characters that they created, how they interact with each other, and how you can feel the rapport with one another. Their personalities really do come through with the little bit of piece of dialogue that they have. And this goes for the other 2 games as well. I can't really speak for the rest of the series because I haven't played them yet, but these first 3 actually feel alive. Like, they're not just stupid little levels you're flying around. It feels like parts of the universe that Miyamoto created. I really like the whole anthropomorphic animal part of the world, and there's definitely some Star Wars inspiration there. Something about the world just feels important, and the big part that makes you feel like that is the music. It's really great. I'm not only talking about the classics that we all know and probably heard 1,000 times, but most of the songs do a great job in making the game just feel very epic. I can see why people love the first game. I can see how people think it sucks. I just think it's a fun time with a lot to actually see and explore. And it has a pretty big part in gaming history. I just don't think I'm ready to call myself a fan just yet. Especially since I did not know that Star Fox 2 for the SNES was even a thing. I never knew this game existed. Well, what happened was, this direct sequel was all ready to go and set to release in 1995, but was actually cancelled by Miyamoto, due to how the 16-bit 3D graphics compared to the 32-bit graphics of the PlayStations and the Sega Saturn of the time. So they decided to shut it down to start developing something for the next Nintendo console, the N64. That game would become Star Fox 64. More on that game a little bit later. Because even though Star Fox 2 was cancelled since it was already completed, 22 years later it would find its release as an unlockable game on the Super NES Classic Edition back in 2017, and later ported to the Switch Online service. So that explains how I never even knew this was even a thing. I don't even remember anyone talking about it back in 2017. You would think a game that had been locked away inside the Nintendo Vault finally seeing the light of day would be a big deal. But I really don't remember much noise about it. And maybe I wasn't paying attention, who knows. But something about Star Fox 2 just has a weird aura about it. Like, it doesn't seem legit. It's almost like a mod or something fan-made. Even by looking at the cover, it just doesn't necessarily feel right. But it sure does seem legit once you start playing it. In Star Fox 2, Andros is once again at it with his monkey shenanigans. But this time he returns with a fortress called Astropolis, and he's launching an all-out assault against the Lylat system. Once again, it's up to Star Fox team to stop this fool's monkey business. And this time you have 2 new members on the team, Miyu and Faye. And this matters because you start the game by picking 2 team members. So unlike the first Star Fox, instead of choosing paths, Star Fox 2 has some real-time strategy elements to it. The war is actively going on and you can fly freely around the Lylat system. But as you and your companion do, so does the enemy. You must protect Corneria from oncoming attacks, enemy ships, and other forms of attack. And if Corneria gets 100% of damage, you lose. So your mission is to stop incoming attacks by going to its sources and getting rid of all the enemies on screen. Once you do that, they will retreat to the Andros base planet where you face him and beat the game, where you ultimately get scored and encouraged to try again with another combination of characters and trying to up in your difficulty. You can easily complete a run through in this game in less than an hour. And I find the whole real-time strategy element to it very interesting. It took me a second to actually understand what the hell I had to do, but once you did, you get in a groove, it's great, and it just adds to the replayability. This monkey throws a bunch of things at you, and you can approach them how you please. This game also is literally off the rails, giving you full range control over the Arwing and the new walker vehicle you use. The game plays exactly the same except for adding a charge blaster, and each character has a special ability that they can use on top of the missiles. Each character has their own Arwing model with their own stats. So you have the map helping you to see where to go, and there's a mothership on the world map you can go to replenish your health and get some more ammo, because health carries over through levels, and you can switch between you or your companion before the mission. There's also way more interesting characters on both sides, the good guys and the bad guys in this game, and this would have actually been the very first introduction of Starwolf. Visually, the game is less messy, but not by much. Graphically, I think it looks way better though. It has better detail compared to the first game, and it looks more how I would expect a Star Fox game to look on the SNES. The first game just feels way older than the SNES to me. But this game introduced really cool ideas with the whole map and the real-time strategy aspect to it. I wonder how it would have been received if it were actually released when it was supposed to and not locked away in a vault for 22 years. I wonder if people would have loved it or would have hated it. I just have no clue. But now I have 2 Star Fox games under my belt and I'm starting to understand the appeal of the series, which leads to our final game of this video. And that game is Star Fox 64. I love how this game is so dramatic with this opening. The whole game comes with a totally different vibe. Stakes feel higher, the actions feel more important than in any of the first two games. And the story is essentially the same. Bad monkey doing bad things for kind of the same reason. He nearly destroys Corneria and gets banished. 5 years later, Peppy finds activity on Venom and takes the Star Fox team featuring James McCloud, Pigma Dengar, and Peppy himself to go check it out. Pigmar ends up betraying the team, Andros captures James and kills him, and Peppy nearly escapes. And he informs James's son, Fox, about his fate. Time passes, and Andros starts his invasion on Lylat, making the new Star Fox team spring into action to stop this mad monkey once and for all. I like this added lore to the characters, giving a bit more weight to Fox's story by having him follow his father's footsteps. The whole Pigmar betrayal is very spicy, even though I always felt like Falco would be the one to turn on the team. He just has those vibes. Not that he would, but I felt like that he could. I don't know, maybe because he just has a resting bitch face and he's giving you attitude the whole game.
I guess I should be thankful.
They took the first game as a base and grew from there. The graphical jump helps a lot, definitely. After playing the SNES games, I feel like I'm on the PS5 with these N64 graphics. There's just so much more detail. I can clearly see what the hell I'm looking at. It just feels so crispy. But I also love these little things that add to the experience, like the fast head shaking when the characters are talking. It just makes them seem like they're all cracked out of their minds. But it's also pretty unique that adds a bunch of charm to them. And again, it just makes the world feel lived in. The music is of course top notch, enhancing the original score. Gameplay wise, it takes a little bit from both games. It brings in new vehicles and also adding some full range control levels to the mix. The Landmaster feels tanky and provides a different view from below. And the blue marine water levels really just feel like space water because that's literally what the ocean is, space underwater. But outside of that, the controls are kind of similar, except for some flight maneuvers that I found a bit tough to pull off with the Pro controllers since you have a stick instead of the C buttons. But it's still pretty responsive and some of the BS hits did go away. Your hitbox does shrink a little bit more. While those hits still do happen, they didn't happen as frequent as the last two. In some scenarios, I find it more fun to be in the full range control missions. You know, the dog fights, especially chasing fools down and shooting them is just super satisfying. Items are similar, boost health, different ammo, checkpoints, all that. But now you also have a robo-friend sending you care packages to help you out. And making its real debut is the Star Wolf team. I loved how they came in introducing themselves. You have the very scary wolf, then you got Leon and Pigma, the betraying bastard piggy, and let's not forget, Andrew. Andrew. Every level ends in a very intense boss fight, pretty similar to the first game. And I think these interactions are really the highlight of the game. They're just so chaotic. There's just so much on screen and they're really, really hard. The Arwing does fly differently depending on the damage that it takes. And it can be tough on some levels to try to not receive any damage for a while. It's just very challenging. Some enemies I even recognize from the first game, but most of the boss fights are really about pattern recognition. And if I'm honest, not only the boss fights, but also as part of the level as well. This game's progression works in a branching system. You complete secret objectives and you branch off to a new course. These secret objectives aren't like impossible to figure out. Most of the time, if you listen to the team, they will kind of like hint you towards the right direction. Maybe Falco would be like,
"Follow me, fuck!"
And I also feel like if you just have fun, you might just complete them by accident. I never actually thought, well, how the hell was I supposed to figure that one out? In my first run, I just went straight through. I didn't even know that these were a thing. It took me 3 runs to actually play all 16 levels, and it adds a sense of exploration on an on-rails shooter, and you get to see way more characters, and frankly, it's just fun to explore. But I really just love how you're rewarded in the exploration. Like, these levels expand the lore of this world even more. Of course, the game is legendary now because of how Peppy's barking orders at you.
Do a barrel roll!
But if you look past the memes, you will see that that is actually just world building. Even Fox shows way more personality this time around. Our team could also go down and make a comeback after a mission, and sometimes characters you find might even join the fight as well. Each mission's atmosphere is very different. It very much has to be if the main mission is just shoot the thing every time. So what I'm saying is, like, not every level is just space the whole time. There's some fire levels, there's some ice levels, and they also manage to do a good job and keep it fresh from level to level. It really does feel like the badass factor for this game was just hiked up. The on-rail missions are challenging because they just throw a lot at you, and the free roam missions are fun because they make you feel like a badass. And to help increase the badassery, Star Fox 64 was the very first game to feature a rumble pack, something that is commonly used on controllers today. So again, this series was again changing the industry. These 3 games alone added 2 giant things that are used in every aspect of gaming almost today: 3D graphics and haptic feedback. While I may not have turned completely into a die-hard fan quite yet, I have grown to appreciate Star Fox and what it has done for the industry, turning those throwaway words from those conversations into wishes now. I do wish to see a brand new Star Fox game in this next console, but who knows, maybe I'll change my mind once I play those 2 Zelda-like Star Foxes for the GameCube. I've never played those before either, and all of a sudden, after doing some research, I thought of 2 very good reasons to do so. But let me know down in the comments if that's something you would want to see. Also, I would love to hear what you think about the Star Fox series. Is it time for a new Star Fox? What were your memories on the beginning of this series? Any and all Star Fox thoughts? Drop them down in the comments. And when you're down there, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more. Thank you guys for watching. Remember to always and forever, you do you.